I tell you, they don't come any more stupid than Martin Scorsese. What an idiot. Killers of the Flower Moon is the latest film from Martin Scorsese, whose previous film was 2019's The Irishman. Let's just trim the fat. Is this film good? Yes, it's very good. It's a very well-made movie. It's beautifully shot with a particular attention to detail regarding the lighting. The production value is monumental, not to mention seamless in its authenticity. Every scene is directed with this serene atmosphere. The way in which this film's entire story is delivered to the audience is very unique and artistic. Also, this film has a gorgeous closing crane shot and it's absolutely lovely. But more onto my personal experience with the film, it did take quite a while for me to really start enjoying it, for the story to start captivating me. I'd say a good hour or so into the film, I was still quite unsure as to whether or not I was engaged. Now, I don't want to discredit my personal experience too much, because this partial disinterest of mine, I do think there are some solid things I can point to that cause this. For one, a lot of this film is centered around the character of Molly, who's played by Lily Gladstone, and she is definitely the heart of the movie. She's the only sympathetic character on the side of good, as the rest of the cast are playing cynical criminals. It's clear that you were supposed to care for her a great deal, but unfortunately I found her desperately flat. Now, due to this character's predicament, she does spend most of this film in this sullen, bereaved state, which I get is the point because she's constantly being oppressed. It is a very miserable existence, and I do think that could have worked where she was constantly dragged down by all of this horror. But for me, it all came across terribly one note, and I didn't find the performance at all captivating, and it was very plain. I didn't think the actress was doing anything impressive or particularly emotive. My interest in this movie would dip every time it cut to her, which again isn't a very good thing because she is the soul of this film. This is a film about Native Americans being exploited by the white man, and the Native American character at the core of all this isn't being portrayed in an interesting light. Dare I say this, but to compare it to the latest Avatar, it was a lot like Nteri's character. Like, she's just there to be sad about all of this shit that's happening to her. It's tragedy after tragedy, and all she can really do is just sit there and be sad. Leonardo DiCaprio takes up most of the runtime, and he's good. He's always decent in these films. However, and this is something that's always bothered me about Leo, in a lot of his performances you can see him acting. You can see someone trying to look impressive and talented rather than just seeing the character. This can lead to the performance not only being distracting but also a little bit irritating. There were specific mannerisms that he was doing in this film that honestly felt quite pretentious and cartoonish, and this included a Marlon Brando-esque lip gurn that he started doing around halfway through the movie. It's all this stuff like, who's all this? I was like, where's this come from? Oh, I got a lot of regrets, I'm gonna do right by you. He's playing quite a thick character, which for me was one of the more refreshing parts of it, as it's something he hasn't really done before. It does make it more unique. He's a very simple-minded person, and I was never bored by his performance. It's still a very colourful portrayal, but perhaps just a tiny incy-wincy bit contrived. He has done a lot of these trying to look impressive roles where he puts on a southern accent and he goes, "Take this mechanical asshole and get it off my fucking street!" I enjoy watching him, but this is definitely a prominent trait of his acting repertoire. Bob De Niro gave the strongest performance out of everyone else in the film. Again, quite a bit samey if you're familiar with his overall body of work, but his character had the most presence, definitely. You needed to get the sense that he was this powerful, double-crossing, fairly intimidating man, and that all came across successfully. It's a very strong story, and it's one that I started to appreciate more as the film came to a close, also because the second half is much more interesting because everything starts to come together. The first half did take a while to get going. Maybe it was a little unfocused. It definitely did feel as though there wasn't like a solid, strong narrative trajectory. I will say one unique thing about this film's plot is that you were never given explicit evidence that Leonardo DiCaprio is in on this criminal plot that's unfolding throughout the film. Throughout the film, all of these crimes are transpiring, and you're 99.9% sure that Leo is in on it, but you just never see it outright. And I think this maybe could have been done to represent the experience of Molly. She's essentially entirely aware that her husband and all of these men are doing this to her. She never sees it herself, but she's almost completely powerless to do anything as all of these tragedies befall her.
Evil surrounds my heart.
That's all, of course, just pretentious theorising, but yeah. It's a good story, but a narrative that Scorsese has in many ways portrayed before. A story of greed and corruption that eventually has its downfall, a criminal organisation that is inevitably thwarted by the law, characters turn on each other, rat on each other, etc. It all comes crashing down, and the main protagonist realises that this life he tried to live was not the kind that he should have sought after. So Scorsese is a bit of an idiot. It's of course a very long film, around 3.5 hours. Dare I say it could have been shorter. Perhaps they could have told this story with a much shorter length, maybe 2 hours 45 minutes. Honestly though, that's not my biggest complaint, because again it is that emotional core with the Native American character who just wasn't very compelling to me.
Why did you come here?
That was the most crucial thing that needed fixing for me. She's the entire dramatic centre of this film, for God's sake. She really needed to be more pronounced. Silence was one of Scorsese's previous films that was very long and slow, but was a film that I deeply enjoyed. That had this serene and palpable atmosphere that was easy to sink into. I remember watching that at the cinema and almost being lulled into a trance by it. Yeah, illustrious film, that one.
You want forgiveness? Get religion.
It's early, but I do think I enjoyed The Irishman more than Killers of the Flower Moon. Still, The Irishman, that didn't necessarily need to be that long. Scorsese can essentially do whatever he wants at this point, hence these absurd lengths. No one's really going to tell him, oh, this could do with being a little shorter, Marty. He's grandfathered into Hollywood at this point. This is just a common trait of a lot of seasoned directors who are in their senior years, however. I should also mention that Killers of the Flower Moon has one thing in common with No Hard Feelings, and that is that a Buick is involved. A business transaction involving a Buick happens. So do with that information what you will, but overall, closing comments, this is still, all things considered, a solid movie. God, what a stupid video. 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 God, what a stupid